Welcome to this short video for Welsh Ambulance Service Community First Responders. This video is going to look at wound packing. Okay, so we know how we could have a wound which may not stop bleeding, and we're going to work our way up the escalator scale to control that bleeding. So we're going to start off with direct pressure, remembering that we should have on now our PPE, so we should put on gloves, apron, goggles, face mask to protect ourselves. For this training scenario, I'm not going to be wearing that. We've got our trauma fix bandage where you can open it up, place it directly over the wound and apply direct pressure for at least 10 minutes. But the problem is sometimes this isn't enough to actually control the bleeding, and sometimes we need to actually pack the wound a little bit more, and that may be before we get onto our tourniquet, or even in a different location of the body where we're not going to be able to get a tourniquet on. So for example, in one of our junctional areas, such as maybe around the shoulders, but not the torso and not the abdomen, but these junctional areas up here or high on the pelvis where we're not going to get a tourniquet high enough, but we've got a big deep wound, well, this is where we can use our Olay's modular bandage. If I open up the Olay's modular bandage, this is what it looks like on the inside, and as I start to undo this, we've actually got the main sterile pad here. On the inside is this gauze, and I can use that gauze to pack inside a wound. Let's have a look at an example of it here. So as you can see, I've created a deep laceration, and it may be that I need to get my gloved hand into that laceration to actually find the artery which is bleeding to stem that flow of blood. Once I've kept the pressure on there, I don't want to let this go. So this is now where I can get the gauze and push it into that wound, and when I'm ready, change over my fingers and then keep packing on top, always making sure that pressure is constantly onto that wound. Once I feel I've got enough in there, I can just keep my fingers onto that padding and hold it in there to control that bleeding. If that was something like a bullet wound, as an example, a smaller wound here, we may have to just make a bit of a ball at the end so that we can push that deep inside that wound and keep pushing it in and keep pushing it in. So let's just have a look back at our wound on here. We've got our deep wound. It's no good putting our pressure on, so we're going to get our finger deep inside so we're actually controlling the bleeding. We're then going to get our gauze, push it beside our finger as best we can, and then we're going to swap those over to hold that gauze deep in there. Get some more gauze ready and push that down to hold the pressure in nice and tight, and we can keep packing that on top so it gets packed. And now we're up to the surface area and that's fully packed. We can just hold that constantly into that wound to control that bleeding. Hopefully you won't have to deal with these type of wounds, but it's important that you are aware of ways of controlling bleeding if nothing else works. Always remember, we're going to use a stepwise approach up the escalator to look at controlling bleeding. So if we can control it with direct pressure first, we will do. Then we can look at our wound packing, and we may have to eventually go on to a tourniquet if the area and the limb allows us to do so. So we could place a tourniquet on the nearest good tissue. Thank you very much. We hope this video has been helpful for you.